interchangeably, but where I am, or well, from this perspective, we talk about hypnosis being the procedure, yeah, and trance being the state that comes from the procedure. Now, like all procedures, there are many different styles or practices and processes that can exist in that procedure. And there are different levels of trance as well. So here we're going to look at, like, if we just use everyday layperson's language, you've got light trance, which is similar to daydreaming. Yeah, and most of us will enter into these naturalistic trances, at least every 90 minutes of a day as a part of an ultradian shift. Then we've got medium trance, which is similar to what we call the hypnopompic state. Isn't that a great word, hypnopompic state? Would you like to know what the hypnopompic state is? So this morning, when you woke up, you can take the slide down there, Joe. We'll come back to that in a minute. This morning, when you woke up, there's usually a transition between sleeping and waking. But many of us interrupt that transition with the alarm clock. And I think both Apple and Samsung, they must have done a lot of research, when they created their alarms, to come up with the most brutal of sounds, which jolt us from a very pleasant sleep into the waking day. Now, how many of you, if you woke up with an alarm this morning, how many of you, when you heard your alarm, went, "Oh, what a delightful sound. I am so excited to get out of this bed soon. Oh, lovely, happy Friday, everybody." How many of you woke up with your alarm, with that kind of language, in a nice, soft voice? How many of you woke up with the Ulf syndrome? Yeah? Now, can you imagine you're greeting your day with the Ulf syndrome and a jolt? Yeah? And that's because you're interrupting a natural process. So the hypnopompic state is a natural transition from sleeping, which is not hypnosis, it's not the same as hypnosis, sleeping, to waking. And the chances are, that, if you've had a good night's sleep, the last hour of your sleep cycle will be a light sleep cycle. So you're transitioning from light sleep to a daytime state. That transition, sometimes you're in a dream, sometimes you're not, sometimes you're creative, you're not thinking in the same way as you are in your everyday state. That's called the hypnopompic state. And that is a state, excuse me, between sleeping and waking. It's like a medium trance. Now, the state between waking and sleeping is called the hypnagogic state. And if you're adequately ready for sleep, your mind's calmed down nicely, you haven't got too many electronic gadgets in your room, you haven't been watching Halloween 17, whatever Halloween we're up to now, just before you go into sleep, that should be a nice, easy transition to hypnagogic state. The deepest form of trance is similar to the somnambulism, and somnambulism is a sleepwalking state. Excuse me again. So when we're sleepwalking, we're actually technically out of a sleep state, and in a somnambulistic state, that is similar to a deep trance. We've got the brain, the number of brain hertz per second there, which Joe is going to put up on the screen now. So the deep relaxation wave in trance is 8 to 12 hertz. It's a deep relaxation wave. And then, or 4 to 18 hertz per second, which is a meditation daydream, just coming into light sleep states. They're kind of like the brain waves that we experience. One thing you're going to learn on this program, and if you work with me, is a trance, and this is very Ericksonian. There is no mystery in trance. It's not a weird, unreachable state. Sometimes absolutely magnificent and unusual things will happen in trance because it is an altered state of consciousness. And it's an altered state of consciousness. You can take that slide down now, Joe. It's an altered state of consciousness that occurs without any form of influence. Like a lot of people take, hallucinogenics or other forms of drugs to get that altered state. Trance is totally naturalistic. You are going to natural trances, which I'm going to explain after the break, throughout the day as your ultradian rhythms shift, which is a part of your circadian rhythm. So biologically, when you go into that daydream state, so, a child looking out the window in the school, you're staring at your computer screen or a television screen. You're driving on a motorway and then you go offline and you find yourself 4 junctions down. That is where your conscious mind is taking a break and your unconscious mind's running the show. From a psychological perspective, what they say is where you're in these every 90 minutes is where your short-term memory is starting to organize information to put into your long-term memory, and dump in other stuff. It's kind of like, it's like, when the egg timer on the computer is organizing things. From a hypnosis perspective or NLP perspective, although there's no direct evidence to this, we say that everything gets stored, nothing gets dumped in some way. But your conscious mind in these processes, it's in the process of taking everything that you've experienced in the 90 minutes before or in that period before, because it usually occurs every 90 minutes, and then putting it into your unconscious. So daydreaming, the daydream state, is a naturalistic trance state. So Milton Erickson did, he had a presupposition or a belief that you could put everybody into a trance because everybody goes into a trance naturally. So Ericksonian hypnosis in many ways is about actually capturing these naturalistic ways through language, metaphor, deep rapport, and then deepening them. That's a brief explanation of hypnosis and its states. I know you had a question there, Sati. I'll come to that after the break. We'll take a quick break now, and then we're going to come back and we'll look at the history